Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donoghue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donoghue, and my cohort and creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. This is your first time listening. Welcome. We often look for suggestions from our listeners for creeps because we always end the show with somebody who is not a creep. So maybe you have some ideas there. So let's get through it, how you can reach out to us. We have a basic Facebook page, but that's where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use salty language in this program.
Shit, fuck, damn.
We're very, very, very interactive in our private Facebook group. So you do have to go to Facebook and you have to type in What a Creep podcast group and ask to join. You do have to answer a few questions and basically just promise to not be an asshole. That's the key thing.
Yes, you need to do it. I went in, I've updated our policies. I updated our questions.
Thank you, Sonia.
If you don't check the little box, we can't let you in.
Life is too short, y'all. Come on.
I had to kick a few people out recently, because they were being a creep. And I appreciate our listeners who go in there and are like, ding, 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 appreciate you. We're keeping that a safe place for people to talk about creeps. If you're going to come in and
just
be all MAGA, you can just, not for you.
It's not for you. There's so many places you can go where you can be an asshole. Go there. We don't have the time for it. We're not your mommy. We're not your mommies. Right. This is not what we do. We're on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky at What a Creep Podcast. And then we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Great place to send us your suggestions for creeps and also non-creeps. And if you would like some stickers, and I am behind a couple of months now. Sorry, everybody. I will get it done. But if you would like some stickers, send us your address wherever you are on the planet of Earth, and I will drop them in the mail for you. Sonia, you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, I can't wait. It's whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you want to know about the podcast, but we're afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. But if you are, you can go there. You can learn all about us. You can go to all of our episodes are in little blog posts, and you can open them up and you can see our show notes because we source everything we do. We're not making this stuff up. We want to give them credit. So they're doing the hard work and we're just telling a story here. So if you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, fabulous place to start. There's also a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and stock up on those face masks, y'all. Stock up.
Uh-oh.
So do it. And then there's a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon, What a Creep podcast group. We have our first 9 seasons on there. All 9 seasons, 90 episodes there, y'all. That's for you, just for those that sign up that pay for it. And also I want to thank Maria and Jack. They just recently signed up for Patreon. We really appreciate that. We also usually put out 2 bonus episodes a month. I was a little ill last month, so we're going to put out 3 in May. So we will make up for that shortfall. Just so you know. But
also, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thanks. Me too. All right. Sonia, do we have anything else to go through?
I don't think so. I think that's everything. Let's talk about this creep.
Please.
Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with the source. Actually, I'll tell you who we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about William Randolph Hearst. Let's go into the intro here. Newspaper publisher, media mogul, politician. He all but created tabloid journalism, also known as yellow journalism. He focused on sensationalism, more of that over facts to sell more newspapers. He created the blueprint for sensationalized, politicized, profit-driven media.
Oh.
Yeah, so he owned 28 major newspapers, 18 magazines, radio stations, and film companies. His first newspaper was the San Francisco Examiner. He hired the most prominent writers of the time, including Mark Twain, Jack London, and a little someone named Sonia Mansfield in 2001. full disclosure, Hearst Corporation did not own the Examiner when I worked for it. So if you're wondering, there you go. Hearst sold the Examiner to the Fang family, the Fang publishing family here in the Bay Area, so that they could buy the Chronicle. It was a whole thing. And they
So
are now owned.
So do you have 2 newspapers now or just the one?
We have the San Francisco Chronicle, and the Examiner still comes out. It is a tabloid style newspaper. It's pretty light. Like, it's not a thick newspaper by any means, but it's owned by Clint Riley Communications, small independent newspaper. They also own the SF Weekly, which here it's like a little, pretty little. But yeah, so I didn't work for Hearst, if y'all are wondering. Anyway, Hearst was one of the first media moguls to become a public figure himself. We have like Elon Musk and Rupert Murdoch now. But those are the type of people who are like part of the news, but also control it.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably wouldn't have like a Fox News if it wasn't for someone like Hearst. So thanks a lot, Creep. Sources for this episode: BBC, Britannica. I watched Citizen Hearst on PBS, which is like a 3-part documentary. It's so good. A lot of this is from that, but also Hearst.com, Hearst Castle, New York Times, PBS, and of course, our good friends at Wikipedia.
Have you been to the Hearst Castle?
Yes, I have.
What's it like? I've always wanted to go.
It's beautiful.
That's what I hear.
It's beautiful. It's first of all, it's fucking huge. It's huge. It's filled with all kinds of furniture, so much art. Like, I went to a nighttime tour where people were dressing in character and pretending that they were like Hearst was hosting a big party or something. So it was a little interactive, and I was like, I don't want them to talk to me, but they like really wanted to talk to me, and
because
whatever.
Sonia is very dynamic person. She has red hair. She wears bright clothes. I have the New York, like everything in black or dark, hidden, stealthily moving around. Sonia's got a, hey,
hey, everybody, look at me. I'm just wild about Harry. Like a little top hat. Dun, 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 dun. Like, yeah, they can't help themselves. So, but it's beautiful. Huge pool. Like, it's a very cool tour. Like, if you can take it, I suggest you take it. But let's start at the beginning. William Randolph Hearst was born in San Francisco, April 29th. That's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Celeste.
But 1863, not the same year my mom
So
was
that
born.
was Civil War.
Yeah. He's the only son of George Hearst, a millionaire from like mining. He owned gold mines and other mines. And he had a much younger wife named Phoebe Apperson Hearst. So Senior Hearst was 41. She was 19 when they were married.
And that was William's mother?
Yeah.
That's
not uncommon.
Especially for the time, yeah.
Yeah, not uncommon. The elder Hearst was a politician. He was a U.S. senator. He was appointed at first, and then he ran for election. He won, and he served until his death in 1891. He often traveled for work. And so Phoebe and her son were like constant companions. They were very close. They traveled together. They loved to talk about art and design. He was a total mama's boy, basically. Little William had a very comfortable childhood, attended a very prestigious prep school in New Hampshire. He went to Harvard. Maybe you all have heard of it. Did he get there based on merit or money? I don't really know, but he got kicked out after 2 years because he was there acting a fool. Like he, was more interested in throwing parties and like pulling practical jokes and things like that. So he left after 2 years.
Okay.
But that didn't, not graduating from Harvard didn't stop him from then taking over the then struggling San Francisco Examiner, which his dad had won in a gambling debt. Like someone paid off their debt by here's my newspaper, which was a thing that used to happen. Wow. Isn't that bananas? Like
Yeah.
Someone bet their whole fucking company on like a poker table, and
It's that gambling is just not one of my addictions. I just don't have the
No.
stomach for it. So
I don't either. I don't. I love to play video poker. That's about as far as I can go. So Hearst takes over the San Francisco Examiner, and he was very interested in like he did blend like investigative reporting. He was very good at like hiring really good writers and giving them like free will to like really investigate things. But he was also really into sensationalizing stories. Like he wrote really obnoxious headlines that you got to pick that shit up. You got to pick up the paper and like read because you can't believe what you're reading. Within 2 years, it started showing a profit, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Yeah. So then a few years later, with financial support from his mom, of course, he then bought the New York Morning Journal, and he went like head to head with Joseph Pulitzer, he of the Pulitzer Prize, who then owned the New York World. And it was a pretty heated rivalry. Hearst would like steal his writers, like offer them more money, like all of these things to steal from them. And it was a big old battle. I bet it would make a fabulous miniseries of them like battling because they were constantly stealing each other's writers. They were constantly trying, like, he would lower the price of his newspaper so it was just cheaper and like all this stuff. It's very interesting. So that's his background. But after this, I've broken it up by category because I think it's the best way to cover all the creepy things that William Randolph Hearst did. So we're going to start with his yellow journalism, which is a style of reporting that was like being sensational over facts.
So why is it called yellow?
Good question. Did I write that down? Oh, I know why. Sorry, I didn't write it down, but I remember.
Oh, okay.
So there was a comic strip that was called like Yellow Boy, and it sounds racist. It's not racist, but
that was my question. Yeah.
Although he's very racist, and the comic strip was very political and very sensational, and so that then it became like not the yellow comic strip, but then yellow journalism. So, I originally was like, "Is this a racist thing?" And maybe I shouldn't be saying yellow journalism.
Right. I always wonder.
It's not that. Yeah, because he is super racist, and we're going to get into that. So his style again was about like style over facts, basically. Like, how can we blow this up into a bigger deal to sell more newspapers? So they would like exaggerate or fabricate stories, especially around crime, any kind of scandal, politics. And it was all to manipulate like the public and to push his political agenda, if that sounds familiar to anybody. The most famous example is he had a lot of shitty journalism tactics to push for the Spanish-American War. He knew the war would increase the circulations of his newspaper. That's really what it came down. That's what's important. He didn't really have a strong opinion on either side. It was, how can I sell more newspapers? So if you don't know, in 1898, the U.S. battleship Maine like exploded in this like in Havana Harbor. It killed like over 250 Americans, and no one knew why it exploded. But he just ran with this idea that like it was Spain, that Spain was involved, and he like published these huge headlines. It was like destruction of the warship Maine was, the work of the enemy, all of this stuff. By the way, the San Francisco Examiner kept that kind of style of headline for a long, long time. And when 9/11 happened, it had a headline that just said bastards.
Oh,
with,
right.
like,
Oh my
an
God. Right. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah. It's a pretty famous cover, and yeah. So every once in a while they would lean back into that sort of thing.
Like
But
the New York
anyway,
Post.
yes.
Headless body found in topless bar.
Yes, that one is my favorite.
Yes.
It's so famous, so good. So yeah, he pushed this with like really big headlines. A total lack of evidence, would just like beat the drum daily, like every day, like creating a massive public pressure for like encouraging politicians to be like, we need to act, we need military action. And Hearst papers printed these like false exaggerated stories. They said they made up stories about like graphic, mostly made up tales of torture, public execution, starvation, saying they were murdering children, like all with like very shocking like illustrations that would make people go, oh, like, you know, really freak people out. And they would create like mass hysteria, like dogs and cats living together, mass
Right.
hysteria. And a real moral panic where people were like, we need to like get in there. At one point, Hearst sent an illustrator there named Frederick Remington to cover the what was going on, and Remington said he like sent a cable to his boss, and he said nothing was happening on the front, and Hearst said, "Please remain. You furnish the pictures, and I'll furnish the war."
Holy shit.
Yeah, he's really gross, you guys, like, really gross. Thousands of people died in that war that might not have happened. And maybe it wouldn't have escalated so quickly if Hearst wasn't, like, using his propaganda machine to push for it. And anytime anyone ever crossed him, like, he would just go after them in his newspapers. Like, he would take to his newspapers, use them as weapons against enemies. He would write like really bitter like editorials attacking people by name and use like all capital letters and stuff. Does that sound familiar?
I mean, I'm just sitting here like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yes, this is why this guy's been on my list for a long time, but I've been saving it. I've been saving it, you guys. So, you know, anytime anyone would say anything about him, he would threaten to sue them or file actual lawsuits, and he would drain all their resources. He had a lot of money, like his money, his mom's money, and he would just create these long, drawn-out legal battles to the point where, like, they would bankrupt themselves trying to fight it. Does that sound familiar?
It does, Sonia. Jesus Christ.
Anyone who like stood up against him, his enemies were unpatriotic, immoral, criminal, mentally unstable, all the things that we all know and well. Let's see. I wrote down an example here. So Upton Sinclair ran for governor of California. This would have been 1934. He ran as a Democratic Socialist. Which really threatened the wealthy elite. He was like, he's probably the Bernie Sanders of his time.
Right.
So Hearst ran all these stories about Sinclair. He referred to him as the Red Menace, a dangerous radical. He would publish all these fake quotes, take his quotes out of context, made up all these bizarre, like, fabricated scandals. He created a fake newsreel that he would show before movies in his theaters that made it look like Sinclair rallies were just all bums and communists. Like, super cool, normal stuff, y'all. When unions were a threat to Hearst, like, he would publish stories about the labor leaders, the civil rights organizers, any union activists. They were enemies of the people, subversives, etc. Like, a real fucking creep, y'all. He was also super racist. Whee! He used his newspapers, newsreels, magazines to spread racist propaganda, xenophobia, fear-mongering. He targeted Chinese and Japanese communities a lot. He wrote all these fear-mongering headlines, constantly referred to like anyone like Asian immigrants as the yellow peril.
Right, that's why I was bringing up that
the
word before. Right.
Yeah, not related, but it's a very racist trope about like Asian people, how they're a threat to Western civilization. All of this sounds familiar, y'all. His papers like just would always talk about like Japanese Americans like they were just like treacherous, gross criminals and devious and all this stuff. Even before Pearl Harbor, he was doing this. He strongly supported the Japanese internment camps. He pushed for it in all of his newspapers. He said that all Japanese Americans were spies, they were disloyal, and he did a lot to normalize public support for that.
Yeah.
It's really, really fucked up. He also owned a lot of land in Mexico, and he had a lot of political interest in maintaining power down there as well. So he would demonize Mexican revolutionaries, like people like Pancho Villa. He would refer to them as barbarians, and they were really freedom fighters, but he would call them barbarians.
Mm-hmm.
In the newspapers, he would often say that Mexicans were violent, lazy, criminal, that led to all kinds of racial stereotypes that we still see. I think that's why you get someone like Speedy Gonzales.
Yes, that was
in Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
I don't think he was lazy, but he was portrayed as, oh no, he had a slowpoke Rodriguez, his cousin, who was lazy and a criminal,
always
and,
sleeping with his sombrero over his eyes.
Yes. Oh, it's so gross, y'all. It's so gross. It's so weird, and that stuff was on all the time as kids.
I was watching an early season of Below Deck, as is my want, and they had a costume night, and it's from 2004 or 2005, and they had a Mexico night.
Yeah,
and it just somebody with a mustache and the sombrero. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it was so normalized.
So normalized. So Hearst was also really into eugenics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Loved to promote the idea of improving humanity by controlling who could reproduce. Really about curbing the birth rates of people of color and immigrants and trying to get white people to breed. His publications.
Hey, ladies, white ladies, 25 to 34. You want $5,000? Just get knocked up. You'll be good to go.
It's so
stupid.
Little side rant, y'all. The idea that the current administration is trying to get basic white people to breed, but they are cutting things like
food, education, everything,
all the
services that could make things easy for everybody to have kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why people aren't having kids, because it's fucking hard, and they're making it harder, and they're like, but we'll give you $5,000. I'm like, that doesn't cover shit.
Nothing.
Y'all. Nothing. You will spend that on diapers. That's it. And that's for 2 months. No, I'm kidding. It's more like 6 months, but whatever. Where was I? Oh, so his publications were all about white power, pushing the white supremacist agenda. Talking about protecting American values, quote unquote, protecting Western civilization, quote unquote, crusaded against immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe, especially Jews, Italians. They're all criminals, disease-ridden, un-American. Used his papers, his newsreels, again, all of it to feed into this idea that people were coming here to ruin America and make it.
Yes, that the immigrants
not
make it
white.
Worse.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Thankfully, we don't do that anymore.
No, we totally learned our lesson. And this, all this stuff, it wasn't it led to real things. There were all kinds of laws that were passed and immigration restrictions, because he made it sound like these things were really happening and really scared people. And they're like, we need these things. And politicians act on it. So now they start getting all these immigration restrictions. The racist fear, starts to grow in real life. And then there's riots and lynchings and deportations, and they start passing more laws. And it's really, really fucked up.
Yeah.
And we talk about this a lot on the show. History repeats itself all the time. And this is another example of we've done this before and we can get through this.
Yeah.
But we have to know what's happening and see it Trust your eyeballs, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your eyes. That, let's talk about his love life.
Please.
So around 1897, Hearst becomes smitten with a chorus girl. He loved chorus girls. That was his jam. And he met this woman named Millicent Veronica Wilson. Now, she was the daughter of a couple of vaudeville stars, actually, George and Hannah Wilson. And her sister Anita were also in the act, and they would perform all the time in these vaudeville shows. And he, like I said, he loved a chorus girl. They performed in something called The Girl from Paris, and they were known as the Bicycle Girls. I don't know what that is, but some people seem to know. So at the time, she was 14.
Oh my God.
Yes. He was 34.
Oh, yeah, yuck.
Yeah,
Yuck,
yeah.
yuck.
So they had to keep up appearances, though. So Millie's sister Anita would chaperone them on their dates all the time. But come on, man. It's like, sure.
I could picture Millie every once in a while sipping tea and then passing out for some reason.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So they proceeded to do that for like 6 years, basically. Like Millie and Anita were always together with her. After 6 years, she was then 20, and Millie and Hearst get married. And that would have been 1903. So and they have a son. They have some children together. They end up having 5 children together, 5 boys. Around 1918, Hearst is really interested in making movies. So he gets a studio, he's doing newsreels, he's buying movie theaters. And now he's 53 years old, and he meets Marion Davies, who, beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. She was 19. And he's 53.
We might learn more about her in our non-creep segment.
Ooh, okay. So within a matter of months, he had he and Davies moved into like a secret love nest in Manhattan. I don't know how secret it was, but whatever. They stayed together for 34 years. Okay, I won't try to get into too much then, because we're going to learn more at your non-creep. I don't want to spoil it. But
I'm just doing the highlights. I mean, you know,
okay.
I think I know what you're talking about, like the thing you want to talk about. Yeah.
Well, he never divorced his wife because it would be too expensive. So he was very controlling of her and her career. Even though he had a lot of demands on her, and she let him do it. Like, he would reportedly demand that directors cast her like opposite men who were gay or middle-aged so as not to tempt her. He didn't want her falling in love with some heartthrob on the set. He didn't want her to do comedies, which is crazy because she was like a gifted comedian.
She was very funny.
Yeah, like he didn't think that was serious. It was like beneath her talent. So like he would always push her into these dramatic projects. I would have loved to have seen what her career would have been without him. But the big thing I wanted to point out was they were together for 34 years. And at one point he was going to divorce his wife finally. It was finally happening, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's happening." And they're going to get a quickie divorce in Mexico, and then they were going to get married. And then at the last minute, Millie's like, I want you to throw Cosmopolitan magazine in my divorce, in my settlement. And he was like, no, divorce is off.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So then they never got married. And apparently that was really, really heartbreaking for her. And even though yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Citizen Kane.
Yes, please.
Okay. So y'all, if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, it's streaming. Go watch Citizen Kane because it's something. Often regarded as one of the best movies of all time. Is it? I don't know, but I can see why it's very, very groundbreaking and why it's held in high regard. So, directed by Orson Welles, 1941. Orson Welles was just a baby, 25.
Yeah.
Also, so hot.
Very handsome.
So handsome. So Citizen Kane is like a fictionalized, barely fictionalized biography of William Randolph Hearst. Like the main character is Charles Foster Kane. He's a newspaper tycoon, and his ambition and his ego destroy his life and his legacy. And it really shows him as like a lonely, hungry, uh, very manipulative person who's obsessed with control, and he's like, haunted by Rosebud, this childhood memory of Rosebud, quote unquote. When Hearst heard that Citizen Kane was being made, he like totally lost his shit, went to great lengths to keep it from the movie public. And he used his power to try to intimidate Hollywood, and to a certain extent it worked. So he owned movie theaters, so his theaters were not going to show it. He owned all these newspapers.
Mm-hmm. So they're not going to advertise it.
They're not going to advertise it. They're not acknowledging the movie. Like, he tried to pressure other people into not showing it. Apparently, he offered another past creep, Louis B. Mayer, like, he got him to act as almost like a go-between. Hearst gave him like $800,000 to try to buy the print from RKO so that they could burn it. And RKO's like, fuck off. Like, they knew what was going on and they didn't do it. He would issue all these warnings to like studio execs and actors and stuff, saying like, if you even acknowledge this movie, you're ruined. I will ruin you. And the papers attacked Wells personally. They called him a communist, a drunk, a sexual deviant, anything to discredit him. And that stuff kind of worked. Like,
yeah, it did.
Like, Wells' career was derailed for years after this. And like, the movie got a limited release. It didn't make a lot of money. And like, in the long run, Hearst doesn't win, because eventually people hold Citizen Kane up as like a masterpiece. But during that time, it was not. It was a bomb, and it worked. I mean, personally, I think it would make it more interesting to go see it, and I would want to see it, but whatever. Yeah. There's another movie. This came out after Hearst died, but I never seen it. Did you see The Cat's Meow?
Oh, is that with Kirsten Dunst?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have seen it. Is it a 90s thing?
It's 2001, and it's
like
about
one
a
of her
death.
first adult roles or something.
Yeah,
And she
and
plays
it's
Marion
like,
Davies.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's they're like on a yacht. It's like Hearst's birthday, and like somebody died on the yacht, and it's covered up and all this stuff. Like, I've never seen it. I probably
it's interesting.
Yeah, I should watch it. Okay, so now we're going to wrap it up. So, beginning in 1919, Hearst actually hired this woman, Julia Morgan. She's California's first licensed female architect. Fascinating. And she's the one that creates Hearst Castle. Like 250,000 acres, massive estate. It's near San Simeon, so it's like Central Coast-ish. Construction through the 40s, never fully finished. And that's where Marion Davies and him used to hang out, where they had, and I talked about this in the What a Creep group, 70 wiener dogs. They had 70 wiener dogs. The barking would never stop, would be my guess, because they are very, very barky. They have a lot to say. And they would host all these parties, like Charlie Chaplin, Greta Garbo, like Clark Gable, like they were all there. And he furnished it with fancy shit from all over. Let's see, what else did I want to say about it? Oh, they had zebras. They had like his own private zoo, guest houses for all of his fancy people. And the castle has 115 rooms. That doesn't make him a creep. I just think it's interesting. So by the late 40s, his health just takes a huge decline. He's mainly in his mansion now with his wiener dogs and Marion Davies. If you're wondering where his wife is, she's living her best life in New York with the 5 sons, letting him just do whatever the fuck he wants with Marion Davies and his huge estate. And then he dies August 14th, 1951. He's 88.
Yeah, he lived a long life.
Yeah, the long life. And even though they had been together for 30 years, like Marion wasn't allowed to go to the funeral, which is very sad. But he did leave her like a shit ton of money. Like he left her like $10 million. That would be like $100 million now. I will skip all this other stuff because that's about her. So after Hearst's death, the family donated that massive castle to the state of California, which is why you can tour it. And it's like the Hearst Corp is still around. It owns like some like health companies, some medical companies. It owns Hearst Transportation. It owns like a software company. It also owns things like A&E, the History Channel, Lifetime, and ESPN. The company still owns 35 stations. It still owns like 28 daily newspapers, 50 weeklies. It owns a shit ton of stuff and more than 200 magazines all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't think they all still push his political agenda, but maybe some of them, like, how I don't know if you can get that out of depends who they hire, I guess. But that is our creep, William Randolph Hearst.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about Marion Davies because
Yeah.
what happened is that, the rumors about, I think we're going to spoil, I'm going to spoil something here, but Rosebud, one of the number one movies probably of all time, but in Rosebud, there's this whole thing about his the lead character Charles Foster Kane whispers a word "Rosebud" on his deathbed, and everybody's like, "What's this going on? What's this going on?" And this movie is more about visuals than everything else. I mean, it's I'm not ruining anything, but basically, Rosebud was a sled that was burned
from his childhood,
right? Then when I was in college and learning about, old-timey movies and shit like that, is professors love to tell us that Rosebud was a nickname for her cooch.
Yep.
And that's basically what she was sort of reduced to. Like, she was just this blonde, ditzy actress that he had a thing for. Her story was minimized completely.
In the movie, like she's she's an actress who wants to be an opera singer and she sucks. Like that's the joke.
She has no talent.
Yes, she's played as a real dimwit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and so that then became, code for, well, that must have been who she was, because she couldn't give interviews, she couldn't talk about it. So let's just talk a little bit about Marion Davies.
Yes,
she's our not a creep this week, because she's not a creep. These were the times they lived in. Millicent did fine. His wife, like Sonia said, she stayed in New York and stayed out of his way, and
she knew about
lived at large.
Yeah, she knew about Marion Davies. Like,
yes, they did.
From what I could tell, there was never a thing where she was like, "You need to leave her," and think of your family. I think Millie was like, "Peace out." Like, she don't care.
So Marion was born, Marion Cecilia Doris, January 3rd, 1897, in Brooklyn, New York, near me. Near Prospect Park, and a perfectly fine home. And she was the youngest of 5 children. Her dad was a lawyer and a judge. He performed the civil marriages for several people out there. Older brother, she had an older brother that drowned. She had 3 older sisters. They lived this really nice life near Prospect Park. She went to the Sacred Heart Religious Convent, which is near Hudson River. She also went to France to study. She had a really nice upbringing. And she was really into film. And we were talking also earlier, and I forgot to mention, is when we were talking about the Spanish Civil War, the Hearst papers were the ones that hyped it. There's also Vitagraph, which is a Brooklyn film company, which I wrote about in my book. They were one of the first movie companies to go to a war zone. And they jacked it up to make it look worse than it was. So they kind of like, he got his ideas from Vitagraph. That's not what she was into. She was into plays and things like that. So she started as a chorus line dancer. She was in...
He loved a chorus girl.
He loved himself a chorus girl. And so when he met her, I believe she was 19 and he was 53. And she was beautiful. She had a gorgeous, like, big, bright eyes and blonde hair.
Google her. Google her.
She's really, really a beautiful girl. But as he wanted to take over in media, one of his big things was to take over for Hollywood for film. So they move out west, and she moves with him. And she has a career in show business. And yes, he was very, very controlling of her, but she had to do the work, and she did. She was in several hit silent films, and it's Beverly of Grosstack, The Bride's Play, Lights of Old Broadway. She starred in many of these things in the silent era. Not everybody loves the silent era. And then they went to sound, and she was fine. But by the time that she went into sound, she was like 35, 36, which is considered really old. But she hung out with him at the castle. And once again, he and his wife had an arrangement, they were doing their own thing, but they had people like Sonia was mentioning, Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, Harpo Marx, Winston Churchill, Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart. Everybody partied with these people. So she has this 30-year relationship with him. And it's not going anywhere, and her career's not going anywhere. So she's kind of like does want to settle down, and he can't seem to get away from the wife. And he had other women, but she eventually and supposedly they had a daughter together. Her name was Patricia Lake, and she died on October 3rd, 1993, and it's her son that said that she told them. I don't know if there's ever been a DNA test done or anything like that, but they may have had a child together. As Sonia said, he actually had high debts when he died in 1937. But she did inherit some money from him. She switched to doing charity work. She did marry a man. His name was Sea Captain Horace Brown, and not a happy union for either one of them. And he would say, "I'm a beast. I'm a beast. I don't know why you take me back." And she goes, "I don't know." She says, "This is why God gave me a sense of humor." She's sort of like, she sort of fell into like, well, this is what it is. She donated $1.9 million in 1952 to establish a children's clinic at UCLA that was named after her. And then the clinic's name was changed to the Mitchell Children's Hospital. But she was a philanthropic person. She also, she loved creative people. She loved to put people together and have them, come up with stuff together. She was very, very vivacious. She was vibrant. She was a real stunner. She also loved to drink. She that also contributed to her early demise. She dies at the age of 61.
That's too young.
Which is way too young, but I mean for that time, they drank like rock gut kind of stuff.
Yeah, oof.
Virginia Madsen played her in a film, The Hearst and the Davies Affair. Robert Mitchum played Hearst. That was in...
Oh, shit.
I know, I just saw that. 1985.
Woo.
Melody Griffith portrayed her in an HBO movie called RKO 281. There's The Cat's Meow with when 19-year-old Kirsten Dunst played her.
Yeah.
And she passed away. Chloe Finerman played her the last time in a movie called Babylon. But Amanda Seyfried also played her.
Yeah, I didn't see Babylon. It didn't look very good.
It's not very good. But she was an actor. She was a philanthropist. She was a producer. She passes away in 1961 at the age of 64. She did have a child, but it wasn't acknowledged until 1990. Yeah. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, she's more than his mistress.
Right. There's a reason he was into her for 30 years.
Yeah.
He kind of liked her. He liked her personality. He thought she had some charm about her. So, all right, everyone. Well, that's the episode today. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have ideas for creeps and or non-creeps, all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, please reach out to us. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Blue Sky and Instagram and Facebook and Threads and the TikTok. Where can people find you, my friend?
You could find me at Brooklyn Fitchick. I'm at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick for Threads and Instagram. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Blue Sky and for TikTok. And my name, Margot Donahue, for YouTube. And if you like the sound of our voices...
Yes!
We co-host a show called Dorking Out, where Sonia and I dork out about movies. We recently covered Joe versus the Volcano, which we were sure was going to be flooding our Facebook page with people going, "This is my favorite unknown gem." And it kind of wasn't, but we still love it. We still think it's great. And we had our friend Adam Risky from F This Movie there.
Which is always super fun.
But, so we decided to go to our 90s thrillers. The way the world is right now, I need distraction, man. So, Sonia, what are we going to be covering next?
We are going to talk about 1993's Malice. This is a good one, y'all, with Nicole Kidman, Alec Baldwin, and Bill Pullman. It's going to be super fun. You know how much we love a 90s thriller.
And we love a cheesy 90s thriller. We're pretty open about it, but this is actually a good one. Like, it's got some real twists and turns to it.
Yeah. Even when it's over the top, I'm like, yeah,
I'm into it. It's great. So that's what we're going to be covering next. If you'd like some stickers, please email us your address. We will drop them in the mail for you. All right, everyone. So in the meantime, another episode done. Be kind. Be good. Look for the good in people. Just don't be a creep.
Don't be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.